Welcome everybody. If you have watched episodes 1 and 2, you are no longer a beginner. In my view, you are considered knowledgeable as an experienced and to some degree, an advanced player. In this episode, I will cover the best camping locations for the following maps: Rosner Raid, Aniyah Palace, and Azhir Cave. This video is part of a multi-series as I will cover more maps in the later episodes. Finding a good place to camp is paramount to survival. Camping at the wrong spot and you will realize you're surrounded and taken down instantly. Grazna Raid! Grazna Raid is one of the early and one of my favorite maps. There are two great spots to camp that ease the experience and ensure a greater survival. The best two are the Blue House and the overlooked car shop. The other three, Destroyed Warehouse, Laundromat down the street, and the Yellow House, are worth mentioning since they have only one entrance for the enemies to enter, but their flaws are the reason I wouldn't recommend them. The Blue House is a great place to camp since it's convenient and provides shelter from enemy attack above and some below. There's only one entrance for the ground enemies to attack and rush, which is the front, making it easy for you to concentrate your attention and firepower. The house is in between the kill streak and weapons store, which makes it very convenient to access. It's a good camping spot for up to 3 players, 2 focusing on the front, while the third can clear the back and side using the window. I suggest the 4th player join in or rotate with the 2 covering the front. Otherwise, player 4 won't make much money and experience points since player 3 is already covering the back. There are multiple ways to access the Blue House. First is the long but easy way, and that's through the tank. The quick way requires a run and jump on the wall or awning, and then through the window. You can enter from the back, which is convenient right after you make some purchases on your weapons and upgrades. The back has a great secure area to share and load up on armor and ammo safely. Should you become overwhelmed by a rush of enemies from the front, the back is a good escape route, but be mindful that there will be enemies camping and attacking you back there in the later waves. The other great place to camp is the car shop, but requires some strategic multitasking management. What I mean by that is it requires some quick thinking skills, and you have to ensure that you have adequate armor and lethal equipments ready to protect and defend yourself from suicide bombers and juggernauts. You can use deployable armor at the door to stop their attack, but be aware that these enemies can and will shoot it down. There are multiple spots for 4 players to take position to defend the site. Although enemies only intrude from one entrance, and there's a window for a second player to add extra firepower, it's the suicide bombers you have to ensure to keep at bay. If they breach the entrance, they can instantly wipe you and your entire team out. There is another stairway that some enemies will come up to attack, but they won't come onto the floor. There are exits through the back window, but you will be exposed to heavy enemy gunfire, especially in the later wave. If fortified well, this site is very convenient to gear up your killstreak inventory after you have cleared wave 55, when your break time is reduced from 35 seconds to 20 seconds. The Yellow House or apartment is fine to camp as well, since there are also one entrance through the stairway, which is tight, but you can have 2 players emphasizing their firepower to stop the enemies. There are multiple windows for other players to take down enemies and help slow the rush up the stairway. You can hide from the suicide bombers in the back corner, but the flaw here is there's no roof, so hope that there isn't an attack helicopter in the sky targeting you while the suicide bombers are waiting below or inside. I've seen people camp at the warehouse, which is acceptable in the early waves. Should you become overwhelmed by the juggernauts, you can instantly escape with the big hole in the middle. But later in the waves, there will be enemies waiting and attacking from the bottom. When the attack helicopter comes and enemies are attacking you from the bottom, where can you hide? The laundromat down the street has a single entrance and a roof, but it's quite far from the stores, especially the weapons store. unless you plan on saving up and make a big purchase on a single visit. Aniyah Palace. Not only is this map the largest so far, it's also the most difficult for beginners and even experienced players. Many players quit due to other team members unable to reach and revive them. When they respawn, armed with only a pistol, and their teammates are still at the weapon store, oftentimes these players are seen running for their lives or being harassed by multiple enemies. In some cases, they die and end up respawning again in the next wave. From my experience and observation playing on this map, many struggled and quit from waves 7 to 15. So here are my tips and strategies to survive this treacherous map. When the first wave ends, you will notice some players head to the palace and camp on the second floor or the destroyed rear entrance because it's near the weapon store. Instead, head straight to the laundromat where the killstreak store is located. There are multiple ways to enter the shop. You can enter from the left, climb on the awning, then onto the window, run and jump onto the platform on the wall, then climb up, enter through this door through the opposite side of the shop, and finally the trash can to help you get onto the awning to climb up to get to the killstreak store. Remember to pick up the recommended weapons dropped by the enemies. Be aware that the enemies intrude from two locations at this site: the window and the stairway. Stay here until you have enough money to buy yourself at least 2 armor crates, which is a total cost of $1,000. These armor crates will come in handy later in the waves should the juggernauts and suicide bombers come after you, and should you need to continue to shop at the weapons store beyond wave 10. Each armor crate should provide you enough protection for at least 2 waves. Buy 3 armor crates if you have the extra money before heading out, or fill the 3rd spot with an ammo or a grenade crate if it suits your needs. Just a reminder that you can also buy and refill ammo at the weapons store. Your next destination to camp is this house, south of the weapons and equipment store. It takes about 40 seconds to sprint to this house depending on the weapons you carry. Should you begin heading to this destination but realize you only have 20 seconds before the next wave starts, take shelter at this office until you are safe to move again. When you see the stop signs, that is the office. Head to the 2nd floor. The enemies only enter from the stairway and there are multiple exits for you to escape should you become overwhelmed by their attack. The goal is to avoid being in the open when a new wave starts, since you will find yourself being surrounded by enemies. Try to head to the house before the Juggernaut makes its appearance, which is wave 5. Should the Juggernaut come after you, use 1 armor crate if needed, and make sure you have the Model 680 shotgun that you picked up free to defend yourself. When it's clear, head down the road to this house, which you will see a blue door with some graffiti on each side. The house provides shelter from attack helicopters, and ground enemies will only enter through the front door. You will notice the location is close to the weapons and equipment store. Camp here until you have made all the purchases you need for your arsenal. Try to get everything you need before Wave 15. Wave 15 is when an army of 77 enemies with juggernauts and an attack helicopter begin their invasion. Once you have bought everything you need, head back to the laundromat where the killstreak store is located for your final destination to camp and fortify as you load up on ammo, armor, special equipment, and other heavy firepower. Again, if you're short on time getting back, use this office for shelter until it's clear. Azhir Cave. Another treacherous map that I see players quit or find it difficult to play due to its requirement of wearing night vision goggles and death pits, so watch your step. The only positive thing worth mentioning about this map is that there are no suicide bombers. The recommended place to camp is the house at the very beginning of the starting point in the map. It's located south of the Killstreak store. There's only one entrance for the enemies, and that's through the damaged steps. There are multiple window openings for other players to provide defensive support, including the balcony out front. Despite being a bit far from the weapon store, it's very close to the Killstreak store, so you can easily load up on armor and ammo in the early waves. You can also place sentry guns on the balcony or stairway for extra lethal support. There is a hut just northwest of the Killstreak store that I recommend, and that's camping on the roof. This spot is more for advanced players since it requires multitasking management, from listening to the radio warnings for incoming attack helicopters to hearing the fan blades of the Wasp helicopters landing on it to offload the soldiers. You can die instantly if it lands on you. Although the hut can provide shelter from air attacks below, unfortunately it has numerous openings that will make you vulnerable to enemy attack. The reason this house is recommended is because ground enemies can only get to you through the ladder. Iron, reflex, or red dot sights are pointless due to the obstruction of the night vision goggles, so I suggest you buy scopes with short magnifications for attachments. If you notice a pattern of places I recommend, they have a lot in common. Single path for enemies to intrude, ceiling or roof to protect you from attack helicopters, emergency exits, and convenient access to the Killstreak store. That concludes part of this video. See you in the next episode.